Hello everyone, welcome to Coding with Ivan, and in this video we're going to see how we can make a dictionary application with REST API like this. It says loading, and it fetched the response for a default word coding that we set. Okay, we can search for any other word, like if I search for clever, it's fetching the response for clever, and here are the responses. As you can see, inside the response we have got the parts of a speech, the definition, the example, and also some synonyms and antonyms. And up here, if we click on this audio button, we can hear the audio of that particular word. So let's click on that.
Clever. Clever.
Alright, so now let's build that application. So as you can see, I have already opened a new project called Dictionary in my Android Studio. And now at first, let's see the API that we're going to use to fetch the data. So here is the URL. It is the dictionary api.dev. I'll give the link of this in the description. From there, you can visit the site. And here is the API that we're going to use. And this is the definition of the API or the response body. So the response body is an array, and inside this array we have an object where there is a element called word, which is a string. Then we have the phonetics, which is an array. Inside that array we have another some objects of a particular type, where we'll have a text, which is a string. Then we'll get the audio variable, which is also a string, but it contains the URL of the audio file. And then we have the meanings, which is also an array. Inside that we have the parts of speech and the definitions, and the definitions is also an array where we'll get the definition and the example. Okay, so now let's make model classes for all of the objects. So I'll go to my Android Studio, and inside here I'll create a new package first. I'll call this models, and inside these models we'll create all the model classes. So let's create a Java class called API response. So now we have to add some objects inside our API response class. So as you can see from the API documentation, inside the API response we'll get an object called word, which is a string. So let's copy this value and go to our Android Studio, and here I'll create a string type object. String, I'll call this word equals empty. So one thing you have to make sure here is that the object name that you are giving here should be same as what's written inside the API response body. Okay, you have to use the exact spelling of that object. Okay, so we have added the word, and now we have to add the phonetics. So for the phonetics, it's an array of this particular type, which will have the text and the audio object. So let's create a custom model for the phonetics. Go back to Android Studio, and here inside the models I'll create a new Java class. I'll call this phonetics, and inside the phonetics we'll create two objects, the text and the audio. So I'll copy the text here, and I'll write string text equals empty, and then string audio equals empty. Okay, so the phonetics is now complete. So we just have to add the getter and setter here. So I'll right click here and click on generate, then I'll click on the getter and setter. We have to select both of them and click on OK. So here we have got the get text set text method. Okay, so phonetics object is done. Let's go back to our API response, and here we have to add the list of the phonetics, as we have a list of phonetics inside our API response. So I'll call phonetics, and the object name would be same as here. So I'll copy the phonetics from here and paste it here, equals, let's say, null. Okay, it's not okay because the phonetics inside our API response is an array list or a list. Okay, so I'll just change this into a list of phonetics. Okay, so it's now done. So the next object of our API response is the meanings. So meanings is also a list which have all of these objects, the parts of a speech and the definition. So let's create a model class for the meanings type. So I'll go back to my Android Studio, and here I'll create a new class, Java class, and I'll name this as meanings. Okay, so inside the class we have to create some objects, and the objects will be the parts of speech and the definitions. Okay, so I'll just copy the word parts of speech from here. This is a string type, so I'll write string parts of speech equals empty, and the second parameter is the definitions, which is also another custom object, and that's also an array. Okay, so let's create another model class for the definitions. So I'll go back to Android Studio, right click here and create a new Java class called definitions. Okay, so inside the definitions we have to create some objects, the definition and the example. Both here are string types, so I'll copy the definition from here, and here I'll create a new string object called definition, and similarly another string will be the example. Okay, so the definition model is now done. Yes, and now we can just close this. Oh, but before closing we have to create the getter setter method here. So I'll go to generate getter and setter, select both of them and hit enter. Okay, so now we can close the definitions.java. So the definitions was inside the meanings model. So inside the meanings we have the parts of speech and a list of the type definitions. So after these parts of speech I'll create a new list of definitions, and I'll call this by the name definitions. Okay, initialize it with null. Alright, so our meanings objects are now ready. So we have to also create the getter setter methods here also. So I'll right click here, click on generate, click on getter and setter, select both of them and hit enter. So we have the getter setter methods. Okay, we can close this for now, and now we are back to the API response here. We can also close the phonetics.java. Okay, so inside the API response, what else we are going to have? So we have wrote the word and the phonetics. Okay, so after the phonetics we have the meanings, which is also an array of type meanings. So let's define here a list of meanings, and I'll call this with the word meanings. So I'll copy paste the meanings here and initialize it with null. Alright, and similarly here we will also create the getter setter method. Right click here, click on generate getter setter, select all of 3 and hit enter. Okay, so our model classes are now ready. So now for the API calling we are going to use the retrofit. So let's actually add the dependencies for the retrofit, but before that we have to do the main or the very important part here. Inside the manifest file we have to add the internet permission. So here I'll write users permission android.permission.internet. Okay, make sure you add that, otherwise you will end up with an empty or a blank screen. Okay, so after adding that, we can close the Android manifest file, and let's also close this. So now we're going to add the dependencies for the retrofit. So I'll go to the Gradle scripts inside the module level Gradle file. Here we have to add the dependencies. So here I have opened the retrofit's GitHub repository. So here, as you can see, this is the dependency of retrofit. So I'll just copy this, go back to Android Studio, and inside here I'll write implementation, and inside here I'll paste the dependency that I just copied. And then we have to add the JSON converter for the retrofit. So for the dependency of the JSON converter, we will go again the GitHub repository of the retrofit. So I'll give all the links of the JSON converter dependency and the retrofit dependency in the description, so make sure to check that. So from here we'll just copy the dependency of the JSON converter. So I'll just copy this and go back here. Here I'll create or paste the dependency for the JSON converter, and here as you can see it says the latest version to add. So I'll just remove this latest.version, and here I'll add the latest version of the retrofit, which is 2.9.0. so I'll just copy this and paste it here. Alright, so now let's click on sync now. Okay, so once it's done, we can go back to our main activity.java here, and here we have to create the object of our retrofit, but we are not going to add it inside our main activity. We are going to use or create a separate class for our API calling. So I'll create a new class here. I'll call this as request manager. Okay, and inside this class I'll create a object for the context, and then we'll create an object for the retrofit. So I'll write retrofit. I'll call this retrofit equals new retrofit.builder, this one, and then we have to add the base URL of our API. So for the base URL we have to pass only this part of our URL until the v2/. So I'll just copy this part and go back to our Android Studio, and inside the base URL's parameter I'll paste it. Okay, and then we have to add the add converter factory method, and here for the converter factory we'll pass the JSON converter factory. So I'll write JSON converter factory dot create. Okay, and finally we can build this, and after that we can create a constructor for our request manager class. So I'll right click here, click on generate, click on this constructor, and here we won't select the retrofit, we'll only select this context, and I'll click on OK. So this is our constructor for the request manager. So let's go after this constructor, and here we'll create an interface for our API calling. So let's create the interface. I'll call this public interface. I'll name this as call dictionary, and here inside the interface body I'll add the annotation get, as our API calling method is get, and inside the bracket we'll pass the endpoint of our API. So if we go to the API URL or the website, so here for the endpoint we have to pass the REST URL of the total URL. So this part of the URL was the base URL, and this part will be the endpoint. So for the endpoint I'll just copy until this en/, I'll copy this, go back to Android Studio, and here inside the quotation I'll paste it. So for the rest of the URL, if we go to the website, you can see for each of the word that we are searching for, it gets added to the URL path. So for this, let's go back to our Android Studio, and here for the query we have to pass as a path of the URL. So to add that, we'll add a second bracket here, and inside this bracket we'll pass a parameter word, and we'll define this word inside our method of this interface. Okay, so here I'll create a call of retrofit, and the call will be for a list of API response. So why I am adding a list of API response? That is because the response we are getting here, the whole response is an array. Okay, so let's minimize this and let's write list of API response, and the calling name will be call let's say meanings. Okay, and inside the parameter we'll pass the path that we want to provide here. So for this I'll write annotate path, and inside the path, as we have written here the word, I'll just copy and paste it here. And then for the path, this one will pass a string. So I'll write a string word. Okay, and here we have to add a semicolon. All right, so our interface is now ready. Now we have to just create a new method here to handle our calling. So here let's create the public method. So I'll write public void get word meaning, and inside the parameter of the get word meaning we'll pass two things. We'll pass a listener that will capture the response inside our main activity, and then we'll pass the word that we are searching for. So let's create a custom interface for the listener. So for this we'll go here and we'll create a new Java class. I'll call this as on fetch data listener. Okay, and that will be a type of interface. Okay, so inside this interface body we'll create two methods. The first one is the on fetch data, and which will return us the API response, and then it will also return a message, string message. Okay, and then we'll add another method of on error, and the on error will only return the string message. Okay, so now let's go back to the request manager here. So inside the methods parameter we'll pass the on fetch data listeners object. On fetch data listener, I'll call this as listener, and then we'll also pass a string of the word that we are searching for. So now let's go inside the method body. So inside the method body we'll create an object of our interface called dictionary. So I'll write call dictionary. I'll call the object as call dictionary equals retrofit dot create, and here as the parameter I'll pass the call dictionary dot class. So call dictionary dot class. All right, and then we'll create a call object. So I'll write call, and the call will be for a list of API response, I'll name this call equals the call dictionary object dot the method call meanings. Okay, and for the parameter of the call meanings we have to pass a string. So here we'll pass the word that we got from the methods parameter. So I'll just pass here the word. Okay, so now let's try to get the response. So I'll add a try catch block to get the response, because if we don't get any response for any particular string or particular weird string, then we can easily show an error message for that. So I'll write a try block here, and inside the try block we'll try to get the API response. So I'll write call.enqueue, and here I'll create a new callback. So I'll write new callback. Here it's suggesting already the callback list of API response. So here we got the onResponse method and the onFailure method, and here we're getting an error because we have to add the catch block. So I'll write catch exception e, and inside the body I'll write e.printStackTrace. We can also show a toast message. Let's pass the context first, and inside the text of the toast I'll write an error occurred. Okay, so now let's handle the onResponse and the onFailure methods. So inside the onResponse we'll check if the response is not successful. So here I'll check if the response dot is successful, and we'll add a not here so that we can check for if the response is not successful. So if it is not successful, then we'll just show a message toast, pass the context, and here we'll say error. Okay, and after showing the toast message we'll just return. Okay, and then after this if statement we'll call our listener, and from the listener we'll call the onFetchData method, and for the onFetchData we have to pass the API response object and also a string message. So for the API response we'll pass the response dot body, and as you can see the response body is a list of API response. From here we have to pass only an object of the API response. So for this we have to write dot get 0, so that will send the first object of the API response. So after that we have to pass a message. So for the message I'll pass response dot message. Okay, so that's it for the onResponse method. Now let's go into this onFailure method. So for the onFailure method we'll just call the listener dot onError, and here we will just pass a message. So for the message I'll pass request failed. Alright, so that's it for the API handling. So now we just have to show the data inside our app UI, and we'll get all the data from the request manager class inside our main activity. So before calling the API from the main activity, let's design our UI first. Alright, so at first we'll go into the activity main.xml file. So for this I'll open this REST folder. Inside this layouts I'll go to the activity main.xml, and here let's resize this first. Okay, so here at first I'll remove this constraint layout and I'll add a new scroll view here. Alright, and inside this scroll view I'll remove this text view from here, and I'll add a new linear layout. I'll set the width as match parent and the height as wrap content. Alright, and before we start, we should add some colors for our UI. So I'll go into these values and the colors.xml file. So here let's add two colors. So I'll just copy this 2 more times. Okay, and then I'll change the name of this color to yellow, and for the color code I'll pass F7CD2E. Alright, and then the second color I'll change its name to gray, and for the color code I'll pass 242B2E. Alright, and I'll also change the default colors of this purple 500 and 700 for the status bar and the action bar. So I'll just paste the yellow color code here, also here. Alright, so now let's go back to our activity main.xml file here. So here inside this is scroll view attributes, we'll add the background color. So I'll pass the attribute called background, and here I'll pass the color gray. Alright, and then let's go inside this linear layout and I'll set its orientation to vertical. Alright, and then inside this linear layout we'll add a card view, and I'll set the width of this card view to match parent and the height to wrap content. Then let's give this card view a layout margin of 16 dp, and then we'll add the card corner radius of this card view to 8 dp, and we'll also add a card elevation of 8 dp also. And then I'll change the card background color to color yellow. Alright, and now inside this card view we're going to add a search view. So for the search view here I'll write the tag search view, and we are going to add the androidx.search view, and here for the width I'll pass match parent, and for the height I'll pass attr/action bar size. Okay, so that will get the default size of the action bar as the search view's height. Okay, now let's give an ID of the search view. So for the ID I'll pass search_view, and I'll also set a query hint for the search view. So I'll write default query hint, and here I'll pass search words. Okay, and I want to set the search view as iconified by default to false, because if we don't add that, then the user have to click on this search icon and then the search view will expand. I want to keep it expanded by default, so for this I'll write iconified by default to false. Okay, so now under this search view, the card view, we have to create another linear layout. So I'll create another linear layout. I'll set its width to match parent and the height to also match parent, and let's add a margin for this layout also. So I'll write the margin as 16 dp. Sorry, it took sp, it should be dp. Okay, 16 dp, and then I'll also add the orientation as vertical, and then we'll go inside this linear layout, and here we'll add a text view, and the width of the text view will be match parent and the height will be wrap content. Here let's give an ID to this text view. So actually inside this text view we will just show the word name that we are searching for. So I'll write this ID as text view underscore word. Okay, and now let's give this some more attributes, like the text size I'll show as 24 sp. Let's set the default text as word. Let's change the text color here. So I'll change the text color to color yellow here, and let's put this text inside center. So I'll write text alignment to be center. Okay, let's give this a small padding of 8 dp, and I'll also change the text style of from normal to italic. Okay, I guess that's enough. Then under this text view, we are going to show a recycler view. So inside this recycler view, I'll set the width as match parent and the height as wrap content. I'll give an ID for this recycler view. So for the ID, I'll pass recycler underscore phonetics, because we're going to show the list of the phonetics that we'll get from the API. If you see here, the phonetics is a list, so we'll just show the text and audio here. Alright, let's go back to our Android Studio, and then under this recycler view, we can show another text view which will define that the below items are the meaning of that word. So here I'll just copy this text view that we defined earlier. I'll copy this here, and I'll just remove this ID from here, and I'll change the text to meanings, and I'll change the okay, let's keep it as it is. And then under this, I'll again copy this recycler view and paste it here. I'll change the ID from recycler phonetics to recycler meanings this time, because here we'll show the list items of the meanings object. Alright, so our activity main is now done. Now just we have to add the custom layout for our recycler view items. So for this, let's create 2 items here. At first, I'll right click on the layout and I'll create a new layout resource file. I'll call this as, let's say, phonetic underscore list underscore items, and click on OK. So here it is. So at first, we'll change the constraint layout to a card view, and I'll change the height of this card view to wrap content, and then inside this I'll pass some more attributes like the card elevation as 8 dp and the card corner radius as 8 dp and the card background color as color yellow. Alright, and then inside this card view, I'm going to add a new linear layout. I'll set its width as match parent and the height as wrap content here. I'll add a margin to this linear layout. I'll set the margin to 8 dp, and then I'll go inside this linear layout, and here I'll add a new text view, and for the text views width, I'll pass 0 dp because we'll use weights here. So I'll pass 0 dp, and for the height I'll pass wrap content, and then for the weight I'll pass 1. Alright, then let's give this text view an ID. So for the ID of this text view, I'll pass text view underscore phonetic. Let's set a default text here, hello. Okay, and let's change the text alignment here, text alignment to center, and then also let's change the text color to color black maybe, yes, and then let's change the text size let's set it to 8 dp, 18 dp, sorry, not 8. SP. All right, so our text view is now done. Now we have to add a new image button for playing the audio of that particular word. So for the image button, after this text view, I'll write image button, and here for the layout width, similarly I'll pass 0 dp. For the height, I'll pass here wrap content, and then for the weight, I'll pass 1 here. Okay, let's give this image button an ID. I'll pass as image button underscore audio, and then for the image here, we have to create a image inside our drawable folder. So I'll just right click into our drawable and I'll create a new vector asset, and here I'll click on this clip art, and here I'll search for the volume icon. Okay, let's say volume, yes, the volume up. Click on OK. Let's change the icon's color. Okay, let's keep it black, and I'll change the name to IC underscore play, and I'll click on next and then finish. So now to add this, inside this image button tag, I'll pass src, and here I'll pass @drawable /IC underscore play. So here we got the image, and now let's change the background. So I'll write the background as Android color transparent. Okay, so it looks nice now. Okay, we can also add some margin here. So I'll write margin as let's say 4 dp here, and let's decrease this to 4 dp also. Okay, so now our phonetic list items is done. We can create another XML file for the meanings list item. So I'll right click here, create a new layout resource file, and this time I'll call this as meanings underscore list underscore items. Click on OK. Go to split view, and here again I'll remove the constraint layout to a card view here, and similarly I'll just change the layout height of this card view to wrap content, and I'll add some more attributes like the card elevation to 8 dp, the card corner radius to 8 dp, and the card background color to color yellow here. Okay, and let's also add some margin to the top of the layout. So layout margin top to, let's say, 8 dp, so it gives a gap to the from the phonetic list items here. Okay, so inside this card view, we have to add a linear layout, and I'll set the width as match parent and the height as wrap content here, and I'll set the orientation of this linear layout here to vertical. Okay, the previously the phonetic list item here, we haven't defined the orientation of this linear layout because by default it takes the orientation as horizontal. So in this case we are going to use the vertical orientation. That's why we defined it here. Okay, so inside the meanings list item, if we see the API, we will only show the parts of speech and the definitions. So we'll show the parts of speech inside a text view because it's a text, and then for the definition it's a list item, so the definitions we have to show inside a recycler view. Okay, So let's do that. I'll go back to the Android Studio again, and inside this linear layout we'll create a new text view. I'll set the width as match parent and the height as wrap content here, and then let's add an ID for this text view. So for the ID of the text view, I'll pass text view underscore parts of speech. All right, and then let's add a custom text here. Let's write exclamatory. All right, okay, let's see the UI also, how it's going. Okay, let's change the text alignment of this to be center. Let's also change the text color to be color black. We have to also change the text size here, so I'll change the text size to 18 sp. Let's give this also a padding of 8 dp, and then we'll change the text style here to bold. Now we can add the recycler view under here, so I'll add the recycler view here, and here for the width of the recycler view I'll pass match parent, and for the height I'll pass wrap content. Let's give this recycler view an ID. I'll call this recycler underscore definitions, because we're going to show the definitions list inside here. And then we'll add a margin here, so I'll write margin for a total of 8 dp. All right, so now the fun part here is, here inside the custom layout of a recycler view we are using another recycler view. Okay, so let's see how it goes. So now we have to create another XML file for the list items of the recycler definitions. So let's do that also. I'll right click on the layout, create a new layout resource file, and this time I'll call this as definitions underscore list underscore items. Okay, let's go to the split view here and again do the same. I'll change this constraint to card view, and I'll change the height to wrap content here, and I'll also add the attributes, the card elevation 8 dp, card corner radius 8 dp, and the card background color to color gray this time. All right, so here I almost forgot to tell you one more thing, that is sometimes inside the response of the API we can get the synonym and antonym of the word. Okay, so the synonym and antonym will get inside these definitions. Okay, so let's add the object for the synonym and antonyms, and we'll get the synonym and antonym as a list. So for this we have to go to the definitions here, and here previously we have defined the definition string and the example string. Now this time we will add two more objects. First one is the list of string, which we will call as synonym. Remember to use the exact spelling that I am showing here to avoid any crash issue. So I'll initialize it as null, and similarly I'll do another one, list of string, and this one will be the antonyms. Okay, synonyms and antonyms. Remember to use the same spelling that I am using here. Okay, so now we have initialized it, and we also have to create the getter setter method for these two objects. So again I'll right click here, click on generate getter and setter, and I'll select both the synonyms dot list and antonyms, click on OK. So you got the getter setter methods. Okay, so now let's go back to our where we was inside the definitions list item. Okay, so here as we defined the card view, so inside this card view we have to add a new linear layout, And for the width of the layout, I'll pass match parent, and the height of the layout, I'll pass wrap content here. And I'll also change the orientation of this to vertical. And then inside this linear layout, we're going to add a text view. So I'll write text view, and I'll set the width as match parent, height as wrap content here. So inside this text view, I'll set a let's set the text as definition. We have to also give this text view an ID. I'll call this as text view underscore definition. Okay, and let's set the text style of this to bold, and then we'll also change the text size here, text size to 18 sp, and we'll also change the text color of this to color yellow, and then we'll change the text alignment to be center, and we'll also add a padding of 8 dp. So now similarly, I'll copy this text view and paste under here, and this time I'll call this ID as text view underscore example. Let's set the text as example. Okay, and let's change the text style to normal here, and then under this I can also copy this text view, paste it here. I'll remove this ID from here, and this time I'll write here synonyms, and I'll copy this, paste it under here again, and this time I'll change the ID as text view underscore synonyms. Okay, and I'll change the text size to 16 sp. Okay, and then I'll copy these two text views that we made for the synonym under here, and this time I'll change it to antonyms, and I'll make the text view as text view underscore antonyms. Okay, let's remove the placeholder texts from here. Alright, so now as you can see, the UI, it's almost perfect. We just have to add a margin to our card view. So let's set the margin of 8 dp here. Okay, so now that looks nice. So our UI elements are now done. We can just close all of them from here, close all tabs. Now we can go to our main activity here, and here we have to start our coding to show the data inside the UI. So at first, let's create some objects for our view items. So at first, I'll create an object for the search view, and one thing you have to make sure is that as we have used the Android X search view, we have to create object for the Android X item. So search view, I'll call this as search underscore view. All right, and then for the text view, there are several text views. So inside the main activity, we have the text view on the word. Okay, so I'll just copy the ID from here and use it here. Okay, then we have the recycler views. So there are two recycler views inside this. This one is the recycler view phonetics, so I'll just copy and paste it here, and the second one was the recycler view meanings, so I'll copy and paste it here. So now inside the onCreate method, we have to initialize these views. So let's start from the search view. So I'll just copy and paste this here. Search view equals find view by id r.id search view. I'm using the same name for the objects and the UI ID. Okay, you can also do the same, or if you have used custom names for the objects, then make sure for the ID you are passing the exact ID that you have given inside the XML. Okay, and then let's do all the rest of them. Alright, so now let's create some other classes to show the data inside our recycler view items. So for this we have to create a view holder and a custom adapter. Okay, so let's create a new package here. I'll call this as view holders. So inside the view holders we'll create a Java class, and I'll name this as phonetic view holder. Okay, and I'll make this extends recycler view dot view holder, and we have to click on this red bulb, and it's suggesting to create constructor. So I'll click on here, and here we have the constructor. So now for the phonetic recycler view custom items, I'll go here. We have to initialize all the views that we have defined here. So here we have only two views, that is one text view and one image view. So I'll just copy the text view name, go to phonetic view holder, and here I'll create a public text view, and I'll pass the name, and similarly a public image button, and I'll copy the ID of this image button. Okay, so now after this super we have to initialize them. So here I'll just copy this text view's name equals item view dot find view by ID r dot id dot the text view's name. Here it's showing an error inside the R. If we click on that, it's suggesting to import the class by hitting alt enter. So I'll write alt enter. I'll press alt enter. Okay, so add the semicolon here. Let's duplicate this, and I'm duplicating this by clicking on Ctrl D. Okay, so copy this image button audio, paste it here, paste it here. Okay, so our phonetic view holder is now ready. So similarly, let's create view holders for the other two items, like the definition view holder and the meaning view holder. Okay, make this extends recycler view dot view holder. Click here, create constructor matching super, and here we have to create the objects, and let's open the definition list items here. Here at first we have the text view definition. I'll copy this, I'll create a public text view definition. Go back again, we have the text view example also, so I'll add comma text view example, and then we have the text view synonyms. Copy this, add after the comma. Then we have the text view antonyms, so comma text view antonyms. Okay, now we have to initialize them. So after the super, I'll write the text view definition equals item view dot find view by ID r dot id dot the same text view definition. Okay, now copy this for 3 more times. Let's take the text view example, paste it here, paste it here. Text view synonym, paste it here, paste it here. Text view antonyms, copy, paste it here, paste it here. Okay, so this one is also done. Now it's time for the meaning view holder. So I'll create a Java class meanings view holder. Okay, also make this extends recycler view dot view holder, create constructor matching super. Now for the objects, if we go to the meanings list here, and this is the text view parts of speech, copy the id and text view parts of speech, go back again. Here we only have the recycler view, so I'll just copy this and go back again. Okay, we have to end this with a semicolon, and then I'll add the recycler view, paste the id, and we have to define or initialize them here. So I'll write item view. Sorry, at first we have to get the name. So text view parts of speech equals item view dot find view by id r dot id dot text view parts of speech. So similarly I'll do for the recycler view. I'll just copy the id of the recycler view, Control V. Okay, so now our meanings view holder is also done, and now we can add the custom adapter or create the custom adapter classes for the recycler views. So I'll right click here, create a new package. I'll name this as adapters, and inside this adapters package I'll create the custom adapter. So I'll create a Java class. I'll call this as phonetics adapter, and here I'll write extends recycler view dot adapter, and here I have to pass the view holder. So for the phonetics adapter I'll pass the phonetics view holder. Okay, so I'll click on this red bulb here and click on implement methods, select 3 of them and click on OK. So here we have these 3 methods: the onCreate view holder, onBind view holder, and get item count. So here at first, inside this class we have to create 2 objects. So at first I'll create an object of the context. So private context, and then I'll get the list of the phonetics that we have to show inside this recycler view. So I'll let private list of phonetics. I'll call this phonetics list. Okay, and then let's go inside this onCreate view holder. Here instead of returning null, we'll return a new phonetic view holder, and here we'll create layout inflator dot from, and I'll pass the context here, and then dot inflate, and here for the layout I'll pass r dot layout dot phonetic list items, and the second parameter is the parent that we got from here, and the third parameter is false. Okay, so that's it for the onCreate view holder. Then for the onBind view holder we have to show the data here, but before that, in the get item count, instead of returning 0, we'll return the phonetics list dot size. Okay, now let's go inside this onBind view holder, and inside here at first for the holder dot text view phonetic dot set text, and here we'll pass the phonetic text. So I'll write phonetic list dot get from the position, and from the position of the phonetics list we will get the text. Okay, now we have to add the audio to our image button, so that every time the user clicks on the image button it plays the audio. So for this we have to write holder dot image button audio dot set on click listener new view dot on click listener, and here inside this on click method we have to create an instance for our media player class. So I'll write media player, I'll call this as player equals new media player. Okay, and then we have to play the audio. So let's surround this with a try catch block. So inside the try block we'll write player dot set audio stream type, and here for the stream type I'll write audio manager dot stream music. Okay, and then we will set the URL. So I'll write player dot set data source, and here for the data source at first we have to manually add the https colon, and after that we'll add the data that we got from the list. So I'll write phonetic list dot get from position dot get audio. All right, and then I'll prepare the audio player. So media player dot prepare, and then the player dot start. Okay, and here it's showing an error because we have to add the catch block. So let catch exception e, and inside the exception catch body I'll write e dot print stack trace, and we can also show a toast message, pass the context, and for the text I'll pass couldn't play audio. Alright, so our phonetics adapter is now done. We can close this, and now similarly we have to create adapters for the meaning and definition also. So let's create a new adapter for the meaning first. So I'll write meaning adapter, and here I'll make this extends recycler view dot adapter. I'll pass the meaning view holder here. Okay, it's showing error. We'll click on implement methods, select all the three and click on OK. So here at first we'll create a private context object, and then a private list of the meanings. I'll call this meanings list, and then we'll create a constructor. So I'll right click here, generate constructor. I'll select both of them and hit enter. So here we have the constructor. Maybe we forgot to add the constructor on the phonetics adapter. Yes, we did. So we'll just recreate that. So I'll right click here, click on generate constructor, select both of them and hit enter. So here we have the constructor. So let's go back to our meaning adapter. Here we have the constructor, and now inside this meaning view holder, similarly like before, we'll create a new meaning view holder, and here I'll pass layout inflator dot from, I'll pass the context, and then I'll write dot inflate, and here I'll pass the layout, which is r dot layout, r dot layout dot meanings list items. The second parameter is the parent and the third parameter is false. All right, and similarly for the get item count, I'll pass a meaning list dot size, and for the on bind view holder here we have to attach the data to the views. So I'll write holder dot okay, it's not getting the data because maybe we forgot to make those view items public. So let's go to the view holder, the meaning view holder. Yes, we have to make them public. All right, let's go back to the meaning adapter now, and I'll write holder dot text view parts of speech dot set text, and here I'll write parts of speech, and then I'll concat the meaning list dot get from position dot get parts of speech. All right, and then we have to add the data for the recycler view. So for this I'll write holder dot recycler definitions dot set has fixed size to true, and then I'll set the layout manager. So holder dot recycler view definitions dot set layout manager, new grid layout manager, and here I'll pass the context, and then the span count, let's pass 1. Then we have to add the definitions to the definition adapter, but we haven't added or created the definition adapter now. So at first let's create the definition adapter. So I'll right click on this adapter, create a new Java class. I'll call this as definition adapter. I'll make this extends recycler view dot adapter. I'll pass the definition view holder here, implement methods, select all of 3. Here we have the definition adapter methods. So similarly like before, at first we'll create a object for the context. So context, then for the list of the the definitions, sorry, not the adapter, definitions, I'll call this definitions list. Okay, we have to generate the constructor. Right click here, click on generate constructor, select both of them, hit enter. We have the constructor. Now for the view on create view holder, return a new definition view holder layout inflator dot from, pass the context here dot inflate r dot layout dot definition list items parent and false. All right, and similarly for the get count, I'll pass definition list dot size. Okay, then the on bind view holder we have to add the data. So I'll write holder dot text view definition dot set text, and here I'll write definition, and I'll add the definition from the list. So I'll write definition list dot get from position dot get definition. Okay, that's done. Now for the example, holder dot text view example dot set text. Here I'll write example, and I'll add definition list dot get from position dot get example. All right, now we have to add the synonyms and antonyms, but as the synonym and antonym is coming inside a list, so we'll just add this to a string with the string builder. So I'll create a new string builder. I'll call this synonyms equals new string builder. Okay, so similarly I'll create another one for antonyms. Okay, now we have to append all the synonyms and antonyms to the string builders. So here I'll write synonyms dot append, and here I'll pass the definition list dot get from position dot get synonyms. All right, and same for the antonyms. I'll just change this to antonyms. Okay, and I'll change the method get synonyms to get antonyms. All right, now we have to attach the synonyms and antonyms to the synonym text view and antonym text view. So let holder dot text view synonyms dot set text, and here I'll pass the synonyms, and then for the holder dot text view antonyms dot set text I'll pass antonyms. Okay, so one more thing that I have missed inside the UI is we have to give the text view of the synonym and antonym a horizontal scrolling, automatic horizontal scrolling. So for this we have to go to the layout of the definition list items. So here inside this text view, and here inside this text view antonyms, we'll add a few more attributes like the scroll horizontally to true, and then I'll pass single line to true again, then I'll pass the ellipse size to marquee, and then I'll write the marquee repeat limit to marquee forever. Let's also change the text style. Okay, we already have the text style. Okay, here we have the text style. We'll make this to italic. Okay, so now we'll just copy these 5 attributes that we edited now, and we'll paste it inside the text view synonyms also. Okay, paste it here. Okay, so that's now done. Now let's go back to the definition adapter, and here after setting the text we have to make those text views selected. So let holder dot set text view synonyms dot set selected to true, and similarly holder dot text view antonyms dot set selected to true. Alright, so our definition adapter is now done. Now we can go to our meaning adapter that was incomplete. So here for the recycler definitions we had to pass the definition adapter. So let's create a object for the definition adapter. So I'll write definition adapter. I'll call this definition adapter equals new definition adapter, and here for the constructor at first we have to pass the context. So I'm passing the context from here, and the second parameter is the list of the definition. So for this I'll pass meaning list dot get from position dot get definitions. All right, add a semicolon here. Okay, and then we have to add this adapter to our recycler view. So I'll write holder dot recycler view definitions dot set adapter, and we'll pass the definition adapter here. All right, so our adapters are now done. Now we can go to our main activity.java here, and here at first let's do one thing. We have to add a onQuery text listener for the search view, so that when the user types something inside the search view and queries it, we have to call the API with the word that the user typed inside the search view. So for this, inside the onCreate method, I'll call the search view dot set query text listener, set onQuery text listener, and here I'll pass a new search view dot on query text listener. So here we won't do anything inside the on query text change. We'll work on the on query text submit here. Instead of returning false, we'll return true here, but before that we have to call the API. So let's do one thing. We can show a progress dialog here. So let's define a progress dialog up here. So I'll write progress dialog. I'll call this progress dialog. Okay, and we have to initialize it here. So I'll write progress dialog equals new progress dialog. We have to pass the context here. So I'll write this. Okay, and inside here I will write progress dialog dot set title, and here for the title I'll pass fetching response for, then we'll add the query that the user typed on the search view. All right, and after that we'll show the dialog. So I'll write progress dialog dot show, and then we'll call the API. So to call the API, at first we'll create the request manager class object. So request manager, I'll call this as manager equals new request manager, and as for the constructor of the request manager, we have to pass the context. So I'll just pass this. Okay, it's not working with this, so I'll write this at the rate main activity, sorry, not at the rate main activity dot this. Okay, and then we can call get the object manager here. So let manager dot get word meaning, and here for the parameter of the get word meaning, at first we have to pass the listener. So let's pass a listener. We haven't created the listener yet, but we'll do it later. And the second parameter will be the string that we are looking for the responses. So for the string we'll pass the query that the user typed. Okay, now let's create the listener. So I'll create the listener outside of the onCreate method. Okay, so I'll just go outside of the onCreate method here, and here I'll write sorry, not protected, private final on fetch data listener. I'll call this listener equals new on fetch data listener, and inside here for the on fetch data, when we'll get the on fetch data, we'll just dismiss the progress dialog. So I'll write progress dialog dot dismiss, and then we have to check if the response that we got is null or not. So I'll write if API response dot equals null. So if gets a null response, then we'll show a toast message that no data found. So I'll write toast. I'll pass the context here. Okay, not getting this, so I'll write main activity dot this. Okay, then for the text I'll write no data found. Okay, and we have to return from here. Okay, so after this if statement, we have to call a method that will say show data, and inside the method's parameter we'll pass the API response. Okay, so the method is not created. We'll create that by clicking on this bulb and create method show data. We'll click on the main activity here. So here we got the method, and one thing here, it's showing an error because here we have to put a semicolon. Okay, so inside this show data method we'll just attach the data to the views or the recycler view that we want to where we want to show the data. Okay, so at first inside our main activity we have a text view word where we have to show the word that we searched. So for this I'll call the text view word dot set text, and here I'll pass word plus API response dot get word. Okay, and then we have to add the phonetic recycler view, the phonetic response data to the phonetic recycler view. Okay, so here I'll say recycler phonetics dot set has fixed size to true, and then set the layout manager. So recycler phonetics dot set layout manager, new grid layout manager. The first parameter is the context this, the second parameter is the span count, I'll pass 1. And then we have to create the adapter. So let's define the adapter up here. At first we'll need the phonetics adapter, I'll call this phonetic adapter. Then we'll also need the meaning adapter, I'll call this meaning adapter. Okay, and we'll define it under here. So let phonetic adapter equals new phonetic adapter, and here we have to pass the context at first, and then we have to pass the list of the phonetic. So I'll just pass API response dot get phonetics. Okay, and then we have to set the adapter to our recycler view. So let recycler view phonetics dot set adapter, and here I'll pass the phonetic adapter. All right, now similarly we have to add data for the recycler view meanings. So again I'll call the recycler meanings dot set has fixed size to true, then recycler meanings dot set layout manager, new grid layout manager, the context and the span count, then the meaning adapter equals new meaning adapter, and here for the context I'll pass this, and then for the meaning list we'll pass API response dot get meanings. Okay, and then the recycler meanings dot set adapter, and here we'll pass the meaning adapter. All right, okay, so it will show the data now. So our onFetch data method is complete now. So now let's focus on the onError. So if we get the method onError, we'll just at first we have to dismiss our progress dialog. So let progress dialog dot dismiss, and then we have to show a toast message. So I'll write toast, the context is this, okay, not taking, so main activity dot this, and then for the text we'll just pass the message that we got from the parameter. Okay, so it's now done, but the API will be called only when the user will input something on the search view and search for it, but when the user will open for the first time, nothing will happen. So to avoid this, we'll do a custom query which will load every time the user opens the app. So for this we'll go inside the onCreate method, and here I'll just copy this part of the onQuery text submit, and I'll paste it here, and here progress dialog set title, here I'll just change the entire text to loading, and then request manager, okay, everything is same, get word meaning, and here for the first time when the user will open the app, we'll search for the word hello. Okay, so that will load the result for the hello on first time launching the app. All right, so our App is now ready. Now we can test this. So let's connect this to my phone. Okay. And now let's try to run it. As you can see, the app is now installed. It says loading, and it loaded the response for the word hello because the app launched for the first time. And as you can see, here are the responses. We can click on the play audio button. Let's click on that and see what happens.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, so the audio is also working fine. Let's try to search for something. Let's try searching coding, fetching response for coding, and here you go, we have the responses for coding. Let's try to hear that.
Coding.
Nice. So our app is now working fine. Alright, so that's how we can create a dictionary app with REST API. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed, please like, share and subscribe to my channel because I'll be making more awesome Android projects like this. Thank you so much for watching.